welcome back to Goddess Nocturnal Chronicles Triple Eight. How you guys doing? I hope everything is well. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about one, two, three, four, five topics about paths and things like that. And the first one I was going to start with is presence. So presence is the path of the body, the breath, the moment, a place where you can simply be. Here, there's no need to explain or invent. You can breathe, feel, live what is. Not think about life, but be in it. The inner voice, the path where your voice sounds within. Here, live. The one that knows what you truly want. The inner voice is very important. Excuse me. Here, live intuition, desire, dreams, childhood memories, inspiration. It's a return of yourself before words arise. And being authentic, authenticity, the path of being honest with yourself. Lives truth. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, sometimes it's vulnerable, but always alive. Acceptance. The path of acceptance. A place where you don't have to be better. Where you can simply be as you are now. With all your imperfections, vulnerabilities, and unique edges. Like, I feel like myself, I've always been, people would tell me, you're very unique. Because, I guess from my attitude, maybe my persona, the things I say, my grandma would say, I always refer to my grandma because, she's Guyanese heritage, so that's in South America, which is between Brazil and Venezuela. And so she would say stuff like, oh, your pot doesn't have cover, which is like kind of the new age. I don't know if people still say that, but like, oh, you got no filter, you know what I mean, and things like that. But that's definitely an acceptance for myself, because there's only one you, right? We can only be ourselves. There's nothing that is a performative thing. Like, a lot of times I would say, like, I'm moody, depends on how I speak, or if I'm like moody or jokey, being silly and things like that nature, So I think I have a very colorful personality when it comes to dealing with people on a sociable level. So, I guess people could take me with a grain of salt. I'm not always that cup of tea, I guess, quote unquote. I don't look spiritual because of a past or whatever people expect me to be. So I always like to say that I'm very colorful in that aspect. And as far as action, the path of action, not because you must, right? Because even though I want to be here on a daily, there is life that happens. And a lot of times, as I always talk about my grandsons, make a little water park in the front because we don't have access to our backyard. So I just try to make a little splash pad and get them a little pool, something to make them feel fun, because you might not have the funds to go to a water park. But that's just something I was always my time consumed with family. Excuse me. And so, so as far as the action, not because you must, but because you're ready. It's about courage, expression, choice, because even the smallest step is already direction, right? And so the last one is, but let's, I think I'm just going to go ahead into saying that sometimes it's silence, sometimes it's a voice, sometimes it's movement, right? But the inner dialogue is to practice being yourself through journaling, self-reflection, coaching, soft inner presence that needs no explanation, right? We are a mirror to ourselves. So I wanted to say that a lot of my the words that I express are like quotes that I put together. I try sometimes to put in my own words, but sometimes I will, probably go verbatim and then say what the quote is, who I was referred to, or if I'm using a scripture here on the channel, which I would use for my AI videos to kind of express that, because if I can't do it in a physical ability, I'll use the artificial intelligence to kind of express what I want to, for it to put it in action, that's my way of doing things. But I slowed down on some of the prominent images of God because I was told that would be a strike against my channel, because I keep trying to create generated prompts with Black God as an image in the video. And I remember one that I had because God had on like a white, it was like a smock. I don't know if it's the correct word, but I call it like a robe. It was a holy robe. When I put the generated the generated prompt, I realized that it was it was above his knee. And it wasn't done to make a mockery of God or anyhow, but, so I guess people were, relating to it, because we do have, there's other people of different religions and things like that that probably are detectives and looking into what I might be posting, or, feel like I shouldn't um, do what I do, or however they found a way to go against it. So I'm just gonna go ahead. Excuse me. So I was just gonna go and say that, like I said, this channel is not religion. I respect the Most High. I've been in different environments with religion, so I'm not just doing this on accord to gain clout. This is just in my spirit for me to really express myself in that aspect of being spiritual. And I do have cards that people would consider to be part of tarot, but a lot of the cards I look for is like universal cards, spiritual affirmations, self-awareness, positive affirmations. I do the crystals, which I give the meanings, and then it has affirmations on the deck of the cards. Self-love affirmations, and just encouragement overall. And as far as like these, some of them are oracle cards, some of them are just cards, with different things that have to do with spiritual meanings and cleansing your spirit. Just a lot of encouragement. There's nothing here that like I don't have to explain, but I just like clarity. I'm like that as far as too, when I follow people or listen to people, like I want to be able to learn. I want to see why you doing things or whatever, if I like what you're saying and speaking, if I can learn from you. So that's what as far as me watching and consuming certain things, that helps me grow as well as a person. So I'm going to start off with a universal card. Like I said, I don't usually shuffle. I just kind of like split the deck and pull out a card when I do. Usually I pre-pull cards before I do record. I haven't had a chance to go live. I think you have to have a certain amount of people to go live. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so really that's all it is. It does help me with my personal, situations on my life. It helps me as a person too when it comes to my transitioning and evolving into a spiritual person, and wanted to share with my journey, or people that have joined the channel, that are following, if they're on a journey or looking in or whatever. But basically, this is what I chose to do because I can't shut up about it in my mind. That's, so this is why I'm on this platform. Okay, so the first one is that I'm gonna do my universe oracle card. Pardon for the noise. Is the stressful situation is almost coming to an end. We are sending positive energy, financial help, miracles, and life changing blessings your way. So, if you can see here, this is the Universal Oracle card, and you always see the planet and the moon and the mountains because, that is where I feel like, as far as it goes with our thoughts, we can reach heights past the ceiling if we have unlimited thinking. Because you can't be limited in your mind. You have to be open for overall the positive, the negative, the yin and the yang. This is a balance, right? We have the light and the dark. The dark is our shadows, the trauma, and the light is when we're ascending and the healing, right? So that is the message for our universe card. Now the next one I have is a new deck. It's called Soul Truth. This is self-awareness deck, and I love this. This is such a beauty. These messages are so beautiful, and so I was so happy to share with you guys the Soul Truth. And I love anything soul. You see how I am as a person. I'm always trying to sing and things like that. I know people beg to differ as far as like that, but that's just part of my personality, right? And so the first one for the Soul Truth, I love these because I think I'm gonna probably do this when I try to be as consistent. So, what expectations do I have that are impossible to meet? And so it's going to say the expectations we have are mostly delusional and impossible to meet. When then experience disappointment with ourselves or with a relationship when they are not met. It's time to dissolve your expectations and replace them with gratitude. So today's soul action is to be grateful. And I know I always say being grateful, being thankful. Gratitude is something beautiful because, as far as what life goes, I always say to myself that I'm always looking for the silver lining in every cloud. And as I meet people, I usually become a repetitive in saying that because, I could be bedridden. I could be not able to speak. I could be not able to wipe myself. I will have to wait for someone to help assist me with that, to help feed me. I have all my extremities. I have, I can do everything for myself. I can get up, I can talk, I can do whatever at free will. And there's some of us that don't have that opportunity or privilege, as I would say, it's a luxury to have these things that people feel like it's not, whatever, we're supposed to walk and talk and eat and all this kind of stuff, but there's some people that cannot. So I always try to live in gratitude with that aspect. So the today's soul action, as I was saying, be grateful. You are being summoned to more peace. Peace is home for our soul, and it is accompanied by trust. It comes when you surrender and focus only on what you can control, right? And I know a lot of times I said it in some of my videos as well, like, I'm not going to cry too much. I know when I first got on the platform, I was very emotional when I started recording videos for the spiritual channel. And I was going through some things with my youngest, and, I was very expressive about it. I kind of found ways to just be a little bit more quiet as far as that aspect, because I took accountability. I had it in my spirit. I felt very compelled to share because at the time, like I said, well, not at the time, it's still, I don't really have a social avenue if you will. And I know the internet is not always the place to come to, but I figured that there are people sharing stories and things like that. So I figured like this would be perfect, And at the time, I was trying to reach her as well because I know she's always on social media. And I know she's been on my page and things like that. So, it's my way to kind of talk to her. Also talk to people that I don't no longer talk to that I know, we're trying to find me as well. Excuse me, I'm just going to get a drink of water. And so I felt, compelled at a time to say those particular things. So if you expect nothing and you're grateful for everything, you will experience extreme fulfillment. And that has happened to me where I have, you know, received that. One second. Excuse me, my daughter. Okay, pardon that, guys. I'm back. So we were talking about being grateful, and so the last part was I said if you expect nothing, and are grateful for everything, you will experience extreme fulfillment, and that is the Soul Truth card. Let me see if you can see that. It's nice with a little feather. I love it. Soul Truth. Okay, and then I have some healing essential oils. So I thought that was kind of cool to add to the messages as part as to kind of bring something new, because I know I usually do my universe. I do some of the universe spiritual affirmations. I've had the positive, then I've had my mystical moon and my mystic forest cards, and then I was doing the archetype. So I'm gonna try to do it in different increments. So it's a little interesting. Is that for me how I'm wired? Like too much of redundancy and repetition kind of gets me like I feel stuck. So I always try to look for different messages or different meanings, right? Well, you don't know, right? But that's just something I always say at the end of my sentence. But yeah, so cedar wood. Cedar wood is to fortify and strengthen. So I know I've had a lot of cedar wood sage that I burn, and it has a great smell. So that's one of them. It's an essential oil. So I wanted to share with you guys. I thought that was pretty cool. So I say, yeah, that would be nice for me to let you guys know about essential oils, since I do the crystals as well. So yeah, and this is pretty cool. It has a little drop of oil. I thought that was very earthy and spiritual. And so I have the next message is my crystals. I'm going to do today the peacock copper. Peacock copper. Ooh, that's so pretty. The peacock copper. Okay, so that's for protection, positivity, and hope. So, I should get my glasses. One second, guys. Okay, so I got my glasses. So, peacock copper, protection, positivity, and hope. The element is earth, and the chakra is the third eye. With hues reminiscent of peacock's plumage, peacock copper is definitely a crowd's favorite. This captivating mineral, also known as bornite, takes shape with copper ores and frequently showcases a spectrum of vibrant colors, and as a result of its natural tarnishing process. Beyond its undeniable beauty, bornite holds equally fascinating spiritual significance regarding as a protective talisman. It envelopes those who carry it in a positive aura, casting off negativity. Much like an actual rainbow, bornite serves as a reminder that even in life's downpours, the hope for brighter days remain undiminished. When to use it: during meditation, in situations where anxiety or fears may arise in social settings. Where to put it: carried in your pocket or purse to enjoy its protective energy all day long. In special care, treat with care, avoiding exposure to harsh chemicals and extreme conditions. And then the affirmation for the peacock copper crystal, it is: I choose to see the silver lining in every cloud. And I feel like I did this one before, but because I'm good at remembering affirmations, so I believe that I did say, I choose to see the silver lining in every cloud. Usually with all situations, because you have to think of things that we go through with trials and tribulations when life is lifing, that it's temporary. It's not always going to be like that forever, you know? And I feel like that is a good one. Excuse me, I was going to try to center the camera a little. But I really do like that. I feel like that's beautiful as a whole, to have that kind of mindset, because we're not always going to be stuck unless you want to be stuck. I feel like when we are in situations, and sometimes you can't change things, right? Because in this climate, as far as finances goes, like, money talks. And if you don't have enough funds to do certain things, you can't really, like, always achieve your goals or the dreams that you're aspiring to achieve, right? So with that being said, I feel like the peacock copper is a very captivating mineral crystal. And so I'm going to do one more and then end it, guys. And then I'll come back with some more, because I know sometimes I'm not always here on the platform. And I'm always trying to, I'm a fun grandma, so I'm always trying to find activities. And sometimes you can get lost in with your little ones, the family. So the next one is a new one. This one is She Is. So if there is gentlemen on the channel, I do apologize, because this is strictly like feminine. Well, I did say that in my disclaimer. So I am representing as far as the divine feminine, and also doing producing images that is of people of color, melanated beings, and as far as representation, because I am a black woman, so I can only represent a black woman, okay? And so this one is called She Is. And so with this one, it has it has a saying, a topic, and then it gives an affirmation or an answer to the card that I pulled. So the one I pulled today was boundary. And boundary is like, no, please, back up. No, and have discernment. Read the room. Please do not come in my personal space. So with boundary, this is a space of defining personal boundaries. Here lies the line between mine and not mine. It's about clarity, dignity, and choice. It's about the space around you, where no one enters without consent, where there's distance that lets you breathe. Hold your shape and remain yourself. So I'm pretty much to the T of this particular message, because I don't really like people in my business. Well, not my business, because I am transparent and I am very open about certain things that have happened in my life. I have shared stories and testimonies here on this channel. But I do realize that I have a lot of boundaries, when it comes to people in my space. So there's like times where, I have befriended someone, and then afterwards, when I realize that they're just coming around to, figure out what's going on, or to have conversations, topics to go to their friends or family or whatever about, what I'm currently going through, I dismiss them. And so I like to be alone. I do have my family, so I'm not always alone in that aspect. But as far as like the outside world or being sociable and having people around me, I rather not. But then that's okay because I do really realize that it's beneficial to me. It's better for it's better for me as a person when it comes to my personality. I just really rather not have too much of the outside noise, because a lot of times people try to influence you on certain things, and I've stopped a lot of things in my life as far as vices goes. Like, I'm not hanging out in the clubs. I'm not entertaining the opposite sex. I'm not looking to be in relations at this particular time. I just rather be chill. I don't really miss it per se. I do have my moments where I feel like, oh, it would be nice to have a gentleman to speak to, but a lot of times I'm just like, well, do I really? Do I really care? No, I do not. But that is the messages for today, guys. Yes, this is beautiful messages. I feel good in my spirit that I shared these messages with you today. Um, you know, it's always good coming on this channel because it's always a breath of fresh air for myself. And so I always really like anything that's motivational, especially with this journey that I'm on. I feel very cleansed in a certain aspect is coming on here, because it does help me um, with being sociable, as far as like coming on the camera and sharing and things like that. So, and that's all for today, guys. Peace, love, and light to the family, abundance and gratitude. Peace to all the beings, spiritual beings. And that is it. I see you later.